Hi, this is LaGiglia, and on this episode of the Mortgage Message Show, I'm talking with JoanneBaker from ReMAX Professional Select here in Plainfield about who's selling this spring. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mortgage Message Show. My name is LaGiglia, and on today's episode, we're talking with JoanneBaker from ReMAX Professional Select here in Plainfield. Joanne, welcome to the show.
Hi, Joe. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So I'm so excited to showcase you to my audience. We've been friends for a long time. We've worked in the community together. And I just think it's exciting as we're getting ready for this spring market of 2021 to really kind of talk a little bit of a few angles on who's selling this spring. I want to start out, though, and just give you an opportunity to kind of share with the audience, how you got into real estate and what that's meant to you.
Yeah. So I got into real estate in the way that probably a lot of people find their career of passion, and that was by having actually a bad experience in a real estate transaction.
Yes.
So I took that and kind of stewed on it, and when it was time for me to figure out my what next, that's what I did. I wanted to jump in and make sure that my clients never experienced the things that I did.
So good.
Yeah.
We've certainly been on more than one transaction, and that experience I've been able to witness on the lending side, and it's been great to see. So as we forward look into 2021 here, I'd love to know, just from kind of a look back of the last maybe 12 or 18, 24 months, and how much the real estate landscape has shifted in that short amount of time, just in your own personal business. What was it like prior to COVID as far as kind of the ratio of buyers and sellers in your business compared to kind of post-COVID, what that's looked like?
Yeah, so my business historically has been pretty much a 50-50 business. 50% of my transactions are with buyers and 50% are with sellers. 2020, though, was different in that regard for me. I shifted to more sellers and fewer buyers. So it went from the 50-50, which was normal to me, to about a 75-25.
Yeah, and then what's fascinating about that is that certainly the market is very much a seller's market today, as we know. And I'm just fascinated, just having watched you grow your business over these last few years. Talk about, if you can, just kind of a perspective as far as how you grow that clientele that you've been growing with. Like, how does business come to you?
So I strictly work on referrals. That doesn't mean that I haven't acquired clients along the way that came to me differently, but my business is definitely referral based. I work with, started working with friends and family and former colleagues, and that has just grown into an amazing referral scenario where friends, family, coworkers recommend me. I have a handful of families that they call me their family realtor. So it's pretty awesome.
Awesome.
I like the referral business.
Yeah, and we were talking before the interview about that's exactly how I've grown my business and business model, and I think it brings a better quality of life as well, just to your day. But as we enter this new 2021, we know the inventory is low. We know that the seller's market's hot. Talk to me, if you can, about what is like the expectation for sellers moving into this year, to be direct, of what kind of can they expect from you as a real estate agent, but just from the market in general?
Yeah, so I'm always cautious when it comes to identifying a market as a buyer's market or a seller's market, because it definitely gives the consumer, the buyer or the seller, the impression that it's either going to be hard or easy, or that they have leverage over someone. So for 2021, I think for sellers, making your real estate connection and having an amazing team is going to be most important for you. We are low in inventory, but that doesn't mean that the process is going to be easy. Actually, it's quite to the contrary. When you have low inventory, you have a lot of big decisions to make when it comes to selecting your realtor, making sure that you make the right choice, and it's somebody that can be a good negotiator and identify the weak links in a contract or in the buyer's proposal or the buyer's team. Those are the keys to success.
Yeah. And you mentioned, it's such a great point you bring up, because you mentioned teams a couple times in that response. And I think it's important for, as you mentioned, either the seller or the buyer or both, to really understand, and I'm always taken back when it's an education process, but what is the amount of people, and what does that look like from a team approach as far as on any given transaction?
Yeah, so when I talk about a team, I don't mean my team and the people that are supporting me in my business. I'm talking about the number of people that are involved in your transaction. So in any given transaction, you have an average of about 11 people from start to finish. So that's a lot of people that are impacting the success of your transaction. So as a seller, you have you and your spouse, if you own a home jointly, and then you have the buyer or buyers. You have your realtor, the buyer's realtor.
We're up to 6.
Yeah. You have a lender team. That's very important. You have an inspection process, so a home inspector that impacts the transaction and further negotiations. And then you have an appraiser too. I think I got everyone.
I think you hit the 11. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the process is quite complex. It's an amazing process, and it runs really smoothly. But it's important that that each step along the way you have somebody that's representing you and understands what your goals are and how do we make your goals happen. A win-win, if you'd say, for the buyer and the seller, and make sure that all of those links in the process accomplish what needs to be done.
I think that's just a great way to say it, and it's a great way for the audience to hear it. First off, from the education standpoint, that it can't be said enough that there is all these different professionals, moving parts happening, and again, having had a front row view of you working through the process, ensuring that your clients, either on the buy or sell side, are always in the know and understanding that. I think it's great, because a lot of people enter the process not understanding the full complexity of it, as you just described. And the other piece about it is that I think it's unique when you potentially have something that may go the wrong way, to know that the professionals in place, as you mentioned, are prepared to overcome it. Maybe just kind of speak to that if you can.
Yeah, so the obstacles that can pop up are very diverse in a real estate transaction. So level heads have to prevail in that regard. And as a seller, you don't sell a home all the time. Some sellers are more savvy and they've had several real estate transactions, but for most of it's not something we do very often, and it's a very big deal. So having someone who you can trust, someone is going to really work hard to accomplish your goal and be able to work well with others.
Yes.
It's one thing to get what you want, right? But in order to actually accomplish that, and at the end say, we did it, right? We did this. You have to work well with others, and you have to know the process, and you have to know how to fix things when they break.
Absolutely. And I, again, wanting to showcase your personality, wanting to showcase your professionalism. It's what I always receive on every transaction with you, and I think it's great. And as I always say, birds of a feather flock together, and you get the right team, and it's a great experience for everybody. And I like how you said that, with the approach of, we want both sides to win, and especially in this market with, there's enough things going on around us that's crazy. We want this to be an enjoyable experience, right? I was sharing with you, I'd be remiss to say that, so many of the transactions that we've been a part of have been pretty unique properties, whether it be lifestyle properties or otherwise. And I would just love if you can kind of explain to the audience that if coming from a place of working with what we call unique properties or lifestyle properties or communities, maybe just a little bit of advice as far as how to enter that potential transaction.
Yeah, so unique properties or unique real estate choices, lifestyle changes, take a little extra care and time. Maybe you're entering into a market that's different, a lifestyle change. Say you're going to buy a second property, a vacation property, or a home on a lake. You definitely need somebody who's going to do their due diligence and make sure that you're making the right investment for the future. And that takes a little bit of elbow grease, digging in, and sometimes knowing when to say no and walk away from a deal or a potential deal.
Right.
is very important in those moments.
I love it. I love it. There was something I wanted to bring up, and this is a little bit off the cuff, but in reviewing your socials, which we'll talk about, I saw this amazing quote on your Facebook that said, "To give real service, you must add something which cannot be bought or measured with money, and that is sincerity and integrity." And I love that quote. It really resonated with me, but I'd love to know, what does that quote mean to you?
Well, I just think it's at the heart of why I do what I do. I love working with people, and I love helping them accomplish their goal. I mean, their goal is my goal. And when they win, I win because I know we've done a good job. I love to say at the end of a transaction, you did it. This is what you wanted. And no matter what the process was, if we had hiccups or whatever, at the end of the day, the client is happy.
There is no greater fulfillment. That is so great. And I share that with you, and thank you. Joanne, I'm just so excited to get you out to the audience who's watching. And if somebody heard something, whether it be a seller, certainly, whether it be a buyer, or whether it be someone that, maybe we pique their interest with the, unique, maybe lifestyle change that may happen, what's the best way someone can get a hold of you?
So pretty much any means today,
Right.
Email, phone, text, messenger on Facebook, social media. But really, probably the best thing is a phone call, because real estate is so personal and unique, and people have a lot of questions. So I think the first connection is a good phone call.
Wonderful. And what would be the best phone number for them?
630-362-2962.
Wonderful. Joanne, I cannot thank you enough for being a guest on the Mortgage Message Show. And to our audience, thank you again for tuning in. We hope that this information helps empower you to take the path to home ownership. We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.